I'll immediately share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. So, firstly, I would like to say that this topic, after your uh, several sessions on various pedagogies and various techniques and updation of education, how to educate. This is a rather off-centered topic to discuss what is education. But unlike more conventional type of lectures, I would like to, in a way, invite you all to open yourself to really understanding what is education, and also uh, the idea was to look for innovative methods of educating. So here we'll try and explore together what are the various methods we can have from moving, drifting slightly away from the conventional, even the present education system that we have, drifting away from that and trying to reflect upon what education can be. So what here my topic is: education, is it enough for educating? The present education system, or the education systems that we have been looking at through the centuries in various civilizations, various cultures, is that sufficient? Has that been educating sufficiently? Because research is still going on education. We're still trying to grasp what education is, how it should be imparted to the learners, uh, who should be centered when you are trying to educate someone. So let's have a look at that, and let's try to participate, all of us, in this discussion. So firstly, what we can try and understand is what actually is education. We have been, you are all educating, you are all educators. You might have wondered, maybe when you were, in your classroom, or when you were doing a B.Ed, M.Ed, etc., or when you had to interact first time with the students, or maybe when you were yourself being educated in school or in college, university, etc., might have wondered at some point that, what is really education, especially when it becomes burdensome. We have so many of mishappenings around, centered around education, when it becomes burdensome. So is education supposed to be something that can become a burden on a student? This has been reflected again and again by educators, by thinkers, by social reformers, etc., that what truly is education. When we are trying to educate people, we are primarily looking at educating the mind. It is the brain. And then, of course, there are certain, departments like physical education department or sports department, etc. There we are trying to concentrate on body. And then we have sometimes, with the new NEP also, they are trying to bring in this element where you are trying to also educate the emotions, the heart of the learner, of the student. But often the primary concentration, or the entire policy making of education, revolves around mind. But usually it tends to have its education in isolation, not in connection with the body and heart, which is why I have uh, given this serial number of brain being second, while body is the primary recipient that has brain and heart. They say there's an idiom about a healthy body having a healthy mind. So if the body is not healthy, body is not trained, body is not educated, it is unlikely to have a healthy mind and healthy emotions then. So should the education not start with body, and initially concentrate on body, or have sufficient amount of education going towards body, rather than primarily or only mind? That is what it becomes. There are people who tend to uh, put so much burden. We have various exams, we have various uh, junctures in the entire length, entire duration of education, where the student leaves aside all his emotions, all his physical needs, of staying healthy, of exercising, and concentrates exclusively on mind. They become lean, they become malnourished, they become, devoid of emotions, devoid of anything that is also part of his life. There are board exams, there are other JEE, NET, etc. There are so many other important exams that are career deciding exams, which take away all the time, all the energy, all of the life. The entire concentration, it's like 100% concentration of the life is devoted towards one exam, one part of the education. And clear, it's, it's the last, let me just get through this last one. There's sometimes a consolation for many of the students, but does the education really end there? And then we have an idea that when a teacher is imparting whatever education that is meant to be imparted in the classroom, or through whatever manner, so is educating and learning by the student a simultaneous process. That means what we are trying to give, is it being taken really, is it being imbibed, is that what the student wanted, is that what they have come for? Leave aside the conventional, ideas and notions about, a student going to the classroom expecting that, okay, I'll get lecture, I will get some notes, I'll get some reading material, and then that is it. That is what I have come here for. But when we are looking at pedagogies, we are looking at the various teaching learning methods. That is not what we are instructed to do in the class. So that is not what that is not all that a teacher is expected to do. And then the teacher, that becomes a very important part of the education. When we look at rules, you have always exceptions in the rules. People have gone even as far as saying rules are meant to be broken. that can come from somebody who's completely taking it as a license to break the rules, but it could also be something justifiable because rules are meant to maintain given decorum. So rules are meant to am I audible?
And now it's okay, Professor.
Okay. I think my video has gone off
Yeah,
for
yeah.
some reason.
Voice
It
also.
just come
It
back.
was
Okay.
inaudible for
Voice
some
was
time.
breaking for some time. We could not
Okay,
really
okay.
comprehend what you
Please
were
let me
trying to
know.
convey.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot see your
Okay.
screen also, sir, if you're sharing something.
Oh, you can't see my screen? Just hold on. I'll share the screen again.
Yeah, now we can see, sir. Now we can see.
Okay. Okay. So when we are talking of rules, they are meant to maintain a given decorum. But you'll have to make an exception in the rules. You'll have to make an exception in your strategies, in your way of looking things, because somewhere there will need to be an exception because everybody cannot be. We are humans. We are each one a unique person. So rules are meant to uh, give a basic direction to things. I mean, again, I'm not telling you to break away from rules, but this is again just to, it's like a little blink of an eye in the entire duration of education where we can once think of coming out of the convention and think that can we have something new, can we have something tweaking a little so that this policy can work out better, it can give the outcome that it is meant to give. That is all. So when the students, the humans are not like sheeps and goats. We cannot treat them all equally. We cannot train them all in the same manner. Our our patterns, our methodologies, our instructions to each one has to be different. Now again, that becomes definitely an impractical thing when you have a classroom of say 60 or 100 or 200 people. It's impossible. You don't, a teacher doesn't even know the names of each of the students. So of course it becomes impractical, but there has to be needed some tweaking in our methods of instruction so that what we are trying to impart can reach everyone, which becomes difficult somewhere. you know uh, it's it's like sometimes they say some students after 5 minutes they switch off. They stop receiving what we are trying to give them. After 10 minutes some more students will switch off, and by the end of the lecture, you know 50% or 80% are gone. They are not with you, they are not following you. And that is where we somewhere lose all of that we started with. The teacher might have the enthusiasm to speak about what he's speaking, or bring in that topic, but students have lost the enthusiasm somewhere. And we continue as teachers, we continue speaking, we continue telling them. Maybe some teachers, they find some methods, like they tell a joke in between, wake up the students, ask them about their personal life or something, that did you have good breakfast, did you do this, did you do that, what's the new thing you're doing. But it doesn't often work. So what do the students need at that time? Again, another important thing that people have been looking at is the teacher should keep themselves updated. If the teacher is not updated on the social media, he or she doesn't know about what is happening right now with the student's life, at the age where they are. If there is a generation gap between the teacher and the student, then of course teacher will not be able to grasp what exactly students need. So somewhere, we need to let them have their life in their own manner, but still keep them connected to what we want to give them, because they are probably not able to understand right now what they need. Sometimes they are um, more motivated or impassionated by what they want instead of what they need. And that is, of course, again, even though I say it, it is something that I feel personally, which might be wrong, because we are deciding, again, teacher centered. We are deciding what they need instead of really trying to understand from their point of view what they need. And that is where we'll have to draw a little balance between what is the need of each student and what we are able to give to them. So again, coming back to the basic question, what is education? Is knowledge education? What is knowledge? Again, we have our own notions of what is knowledge. uh, say an example when that I thought about when I was making this presentation, that we have this thing of Indian knowledge systems going on nowadays. And when we talk of knowledge, it should come from, a lot of notions. Again, it should come from a person who has given degrees, who has competed, or who has achieved a particular level. He has been declared competent enough to have knowledge and then impart knowledge. So, but when we talk of these kind of knowledge systems, especially Indian knowledge system, we have projects where we are going to the fishermen, we are going to the some craftsmen, and
Sir, your voice is breaking. You're not audible. So you're not audible to us, and also your video is not showing.
Hasina ma'am, can you call him over the phone? You could contact him
Sure,
over the
ma'am.
phone.
Sure,
it
sure,
seems.
sure. Sure.
Okay.
ways those people's knowledge or document, because we see that. I'm audible clearly? Yes, Dr. Hasina?
Sir, your voice is breaking. You're not audible to us. Like for the last 2, 3
Is it
minutes,
still
you're not
breaking?
audible. But now you're
Oh,
audible
okay,
again.
okay. Is the screen visible?
Yes, yes. The screen is visible. The only
Okay,
thing is that
I'll
your
continue.
voice is breaking, and sometimes we can't see you too.
Okay. Shall I switch off my video? If that helps.
Yeah, probably that helps so that it takes lesser data.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. So when we're looking at this Indian knowledge systems, we are trying to get knowledge from the people whom we didn't think that they have some knowledge. We didn't think that their knowledge was worthwhile. They are not competent to have the knowledge that is required for uh, people like us, who are, who have ample amount of knowledge, who have libraries, who have been thinking, who have been studying. These people who have not got the regular, they have not gone through the whole system of being educated, who have not gained the knowledge in the most conventional manner, they how can they give us knowledge? But we realize that there is a point
Again, voice is breaking.
where we did, uh,
So your voice is breaking again, sir.
lose ourselves somewhere, and
Looks like he's offline now.
is it better now?
Yeah. Very much, very much.
Okay, fine. Okay, so again, what are the means of acquiring knowledge? Whether we have this course, and now it started in India since I think almost a decade, or if not more. We have it abroad also. It's called liberal arts. Now again, liberal arts was one step that was taken backwards, so that we can, in the conventional manner, try to understand or try to gain the traditional knowledge. It was a mixture of traditional and conventional, and that is when a lot of research about, can the traditional be discarded, or can the traditional be included within the conventional manner to enrich our knowledge systems, to enrich our education system. So of course it turns out to be that, they feel that yes, liberal arts was something that was, uh, a perfect step to make our education system better. But again, it remains as a separate course in itself and did not percolate or combine various different disciplines together. It continues to be something that is more of arts and humanities, and does not include so much of science. So you have liberal arts, even though it could not do that bridging, it still continues to be a very important step in education system. Now again, when we talk of knowledge, uh, we often see knowledge. I mean, do you see knowledge, is equal to education? Can we have a little discussion or something that you can tell me about it? Anyone who sees something apart from knowledge to be equal to education, what else can be if not knowledge that is part of education? You can also put things in the chat if you want.
Skill development person.
Sorry.
Skill development. Development of skills.
Development of skills, okay, but for that again we need some knowledge. If you
Of
tell
course, of
a
course.
child
Without it,
without training him, that develop your skills, he doesn't know what skills to be developed. He has to be given a basic training, that okay, you have this training, you know how to use tools, you know the principles, whatever physics principles or whatever things. Even if it is a craft, simple, a potter's skill, say, if you want the child to do pottery, these things are, at least abroad, these are put into the curriculum nowadays. They take them to a workshop, they do some pottery, they do some clay making, they do some molding, they do some sculpture. These are, said to be important aspects, so that the child can interact. They have various things going on abroad. It's coming slowly to India, especially in the international schools. But of course it doesn't come to government schools so quickly. We're still in the rut in the government schools, but it is slowly coming
Emotional,
here, that the child should interact with the five elements. Yes, what else can you tell me apart from knowledge?
emotional, emotional development, of
Emotions,
course.
okay, and what else?
ethics, the ethical
Ethics.
behavior also.
Okay. And what else? So if somebody is has emotions, is ethical, and has knowledge, has skills, we say he is educated. Am I correct?
Of course, it's incomplete.
Be frank to disagree. I'm happy if you disagree. Then we can have a discussion. Disagreements lead to discussion.
Of course, it's incomplete even then. Spiritual
What
development,
is it that is missing?
we can't do anything here in the education institution as far as I know, because they have to realize themselves. Self-realization is important, but it will lead, these things may lead to the development of, realization of the selves later.
Okay, okay, well, fine. And what else? So we have one element that is being added here, some spiritual self-realization, spiritual development. Okay, because see, I remember I'm into ceramics, archaeological ceramics. So I had gone to a potter, and they were so soft spoken. He was not educated. He had never gone to school, didn't have probably the money to go to school, and he made me sit down first. Uh, he was hesitant that I would not drink tea from his house. All the social hierarchy and caste system, etc. I told him that I don't drink tea. He asked me, what will you drink? I told, I can have water. If that is what you want, that I should drink something from your house, I can have water. Anyway, gave me a cup of milk, and I had that. And he asked me first from where I am, what I do, etc. Something that is that sounds most obvious an educated person should do. And then you realize this person is not educated. He has the perfect morals, he has the perfect ethics, he has sensitivity from the point of view of emotions, and he has a skill. I mean, I should call him educated while he has not had any education whatsoever at all, apart from the regular hereditary skills that has been passed on from generation to generation into this potter. So again, that is where we lose the whole meaning of what is education somewhere. And we start to realize that we need to question, re-question, and again re-question what is education. Anyway, coming back to I'll touch upon that aspect that you mentioned of spirituality or self-realization towards the end. Let's see what we can discover further. So again, even if we were to restrict education to knowledge, who defines what is knowledge? Who defines what is going to come within the purview of this knowledge? And does this knowledge vary from region to region, from culture to culture, religion to religion, even race to race? What are the other factors? Does the conditioning of a person, somebody who is, you have this, I had given once some time ago, they called me for, because I also deal with Indian culture, they called me for a workshop to inculcate some of the so-called Indian traits into the children of NRIs. They have a workshop. One NGO was conducting a workshop, and uh, people had paid heavy amount in dollars to come to India, to send their children to India to get Indianized. Again, it was a very awkward thing to define in that way, but of course, it was a very good, a very fun learning thing where I learned so many things because we are dealing with Indians who have the conditioning in India. Now, Indians who have conditioning in America or in Europe think very differently, and when you are to talk to them, you you can't speak of things that are so convenient for us to talk to an Indian. You have to explain every little bit because that conditioning is missing. Same thing would happen to a European who's born in India and has to go back to Europe and try and understand the cultural milieu of that region. So conditioning plays a very important role. Now, why sometimes I think that why we are not able to bring education to the so-called marginalized group, because their conditioning is so different. They don't see those things that way. They don't see growing economy as growing economy when they don't have any food in their house to eat. It's not growing. Sorry. So where are things going missing in this conditioning is such an important factor. Does it have any role while making the policies? Does it have any role when we are imparting the education? The students in your classroom are coming from different milieux, they're coming from different social backgrounds, they're coming from different economic backgrounds. We are trying to tell them things so directly without making a sort of foundation for them first, that will bring them together on the same platform, on the same level of beginning. It's often shown, you have these uh, caricatures where uh, the shorter, there are three children peeping into a playground, and the shorter person has usually a taller stool to stand on, and the taller person has a shorter stool to stand on, and then that's what makes them equal. But if the shorter person has a shorter stool and the taller person has a taller stool, then of course the whole thing goes disbalanced. So that is what is happening somewhere in our classrooms, and because we are not able to uh, undo some conditioning, we are not able to uh, emphasize on certain things that can bring together all the entire classroom. And I don't know if you've seen that happen in my classroom. I've seen sometimes students have problems within themselves because you have not brought them together on the uh, same, I don't know what you can say, it's not platform, it's not same level, it's a uh, say on the same brotherhood level, maybe you can say something like that. So that remains an important factor, which is often not, I don't know if you have ever heard someone talk of breaking the entire class who has students from various social backgrounds, economic backgrounds, ups and downs of various kinds, bring them all together when you start, you start your annual year. That that is very important actually, because those differences linger on throughout the year and they affect the studies, whether we accept it or not. They do affect the studies. So somebody has very good books, somebody does not have. You can not rely on library completely. I don't know how many students really go to library, or even if you have good books in library, how many students uh, think that they can go and approach those books. They rely on the local material that they have received, maybe from their seniors, maybe from the teacher, the regular reading material, that is quick notes. So anyway, that is one aspect that needs to be looked at. And then of course, just as social media has been improving a lot of things in our life, there is a lot of element coming from social media, often blamed on social media, which needs to be undone, which needs to be reversed, because uh, anything, a sword can defend you, help you defend yourself. A sword can be a weapon that can fall into wrong hands. So that is again, because we are the ones who are educating, we are the ones responsible to make the hand that holds the sword worthy of holding it. So that is on us. Now again, a very very important question of uh, a scary question of the education system: the exams. How do you know that the education that you have given to the student has reached the student? And for that, probably you have exams. Any other method that you can think of apart from exams that can help us understand or assess the progress of the students? Can someone suggest something to me? Anything might not sound practical even then.
It may not be practicable, which I'm going to say. We could ask them to write this is what we do. We ask them to write exams But instead of giving so much importance to exam, we could ask them even daily in the afternoon, let them do some activities and let them do whatever they love to do. This is the way we could allow them to grow by themselves in the
Okay, it should
library.
reflect what you have given to them all this while, the entire semester.
Why should we give so much importance to knowledge? That's what I
So,
have in my
okay,
mind.
that's good. Let's look at education minus knowledge. Can we still call it education? Can most of us call it education still? Can we agree upon that?
Yeah, we could call. What's wrong in it?
What will remain? Education minus knowledge is equal to?
Practical knowledge, worldly knowledge. Let them develop in themselves.
And let us define worldly knowledge for a moment.
How they have to carry out themselves in the society and how they could rely on themselves. Even learning to learn, they have to be aware of. How to learn, they don't know.
Okay, learning to learn. That's a very fine factor that you have brought in. Carry themselves in the world. Yes. So again, now at this point, the responsibility of education, of carrying themselves in the world, kind of shifts from only the teacher to teacher and the parents, which who are usually, usually parents
That's
have
why
this tendency.
we
Yes,
should
yes.
not
Tell
keep
me.
our classes teacher centric, instead student centric. It should be. That's what they suggest. Even we follow.
Right, right. In the new pedagogy, student centric, yes, true. But how much, how do we understand what is student centric? Do we really understand what is student centric?
No, always. Then what could I say? We should not impart everything. We should not try to. Ask our students to gather information. Let them do by themselves. Let them learn so many things
Okay, but
by themselves.
I don't. Maybe
Self-reliance.
at Okay, maybe at primary or secondary level, even if we leave the students to themselves,
Yeah, no, no.
I don't know. Ask a teacher
At the
what
basic
happens to the
level, we
class.
can't do that. At the basic level, we can't do that. Of course, what you said is right.
But let me suggest again, I will not impose any of the ideas. Let me suggest that it is at the basic level that the student can actually learn to be disciplined. After that, you cannot discipline themselves. You cannot discipline them. You can
Yeah,
only
of course, of
expect that
course.
whatever they have learned at the
That's
primary level
that's why
continues.
we say catch them young.
Yes, yes, true. So again, the student centric is a very fine thing that the new pedagogies, new research has brought in, but we somehow somewhere continue to fail to understand what really can be student centric, because again, I'll have some two or three quotations later on that might help us define this further. But somewhere the student has to uh, not be taken by the news and left somewhere that here is where you graze. It should not be that way. It should not be that the student, um, we are not even to guide somewhere. Even that is imposing, because when you are guiding the student, you're giving direction, you're taking the student that go here, you'll find something here. Again, the more, I don't know, more perfect, more reasonable thing that you said was telling him how to learn. So he will know, he or she, again, I will not continue saying he or she again and again, that a little difficult to keep saying that, but consider my words not gender bias. If you take the student to if you tell the student or make him learn that you have to find what really interests you, what you're passionate about. First you have to think about that. That is where knowing, that self realization that you talk of, knowing oneself, knowing one's nature, because each nature is different. So knowing each one's nature by themselves becomes very important for them. And And that is where somewhere the whole necessity of exams will disappear. It will just dissolve, because it can hardly really examine the education of the student. It can hardly examine the analytical skills, only to a certain extent. If you have uh, you know if your questions can really be that way formulated, then you'll get analytical skills examined in your entire exam system. Because often, I see, especially I belong to history, so I see whatever is the topic given in the syllabus, they just put a how, when, analyze or examine or write about or describe, mainly describe, and you put that little portion from the syllabus into the question. Nobody's going to analyze anything in there. They will just paste whatever they have seen from your ppts into the answer, and that is it. And that is what most of the teachers will give marks for, because they have taught that. If you find something striking suddenly in the answer, that you have not taught, but is correct, you read that in your books, sometimes teachers are baffled. What is this? I didn't teach this, but it's correct, but I didn't teach this. Should I give marks or not? Once in a lifetime, maybe, or a few times in a lifetime, they get these students who have analytical skills, again, intelligence, grasping power, memorizing power, short term memorizing power. This was a term that came to me after I wrote this memorizing power, that they are not even memorizing. They sit the night before exams and they write the exams very well. So they have this thing, they kind of upload all the data, they spill it out into the exams, and next day they format their mind completely like a hard disk, and they're fresh for the new exam. So exams are often not solving the purpose. In fact, they might be even deviating from the goal of education. So again, another little element. I'll come to the few things that you have mentioned already. We'll take that up in the end. So if I take you back in history a few centuries ago, when the science was still beginning, with the Renaissance and all that, science was something new, something that was intriguing for everyone, and everyone could not accept it immediately. But it looked like it was somewhere between magic and reality. That time, when somebody did an experiment, it was his art to do it. Again, the word art was very important in those centuries, and that art was not there for everyone. Everyone did not have that skill. So science was a skill. Somebody who could make an aeroplane and fly, it was a skill. It was not science, really. In fact, somebody who could do a scientific experiment, and somebody who could make a little sculpture or who could do a painting, all of that was art, that was skill. And now suddenly we have, after getting more educated ourselves, we suddenly have this division. This is science, this is art, this is skill, this is not skill. So again, that division in the mind of students has made a, I don't know. It's a complete catastrophe in our education system. Students, I don't know from which backgrounds you all are, but I see in my class, I tell them that you don't have to feel inferior to science students. I tell them to go interact with science students, learn things from them, and you'll realize they will also learn things from you. So there's this huge gap between the science students and art students, and that happens in school level. When we tell them, there are two things that happens. One is the student has been already been preparing himself to be a science student, and another thing is, you are too dull, you can't be a science student. So it's being imposed on that person. Again, that becomes a very difficult decision, and then 11th, 12th, or graduation, it becomes quite accentuated, and it's very clear you are this and you are not this, or you are this, you are not this. It's very clear, and that is a burden that is being carried throughout the lifetime by the student. And there's that little pinching thing that is always retained by the student often, and can't let go of that inferiority often. if that person is not science student. Sometimes you have a science student who's very rarely comes to arts. Again, he has a very different uh, behavior, that I used to be good, now I'm not good. So there is this continuous hierarchy that we see. There's a continuous level up and down that is ingrained in the minds of society, definitely, and the students, of course. If I don't manage to score well in my competitive exams for IIT or whatever else medical exam, then I'll have to fall back into some art subject and do that. So again, those things are not, somehow our policy making is not able to bridge that gap. With NEP 2020, they are trying to do that, bring a little science to the arts people and bring a little social science or arts to science people. That should have been maybe done in a more uh, a, a, a more a larger percentage of that element should have been there, but maybe it doesn't still sound practical to most people. So anyway, that is one element that maybe we can personally bring into our classes, because I don't know if you realize, say somebody like Leonardo da Vinci, the science people will claim that 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 person and his achievements belong to science, and arts people think that all his achievements belong to arts, because he was a multifaceted person. Maybe that is what we should call an educated person, who can understand science and has an understanding of humanity in science, and can see humanities and can see science in humanities. So again, uh, that kind of point of view, that kind of perspective is very important in education, because we cannot leave one thing aside. The people in science uh, who have not read poetry, and they lose so much. When you're talking of emotions, when we're talking of self-realization, when we're talking of sensitivity, a lot of people I've heard, they give example that if Mr. Patton, who made the Patton tank, if he had done some social sciences, he would have he would have known who had made a given type of artillery, would have destroyed that, had he had some education in social sciences, that this is something, even if it is for defense, it is something that can fall into wrong hands and must be destroyed. You have a lot of movies nowadays where you have a superhero who's trying to save the world by removing anything that is destructive from falling into the wrong hands. So, and not just that, not just saving humanity, not just all of these things, but it is also a type of understanding of humanity that one should have when it comes to living, when it comes to really being educated. Just give me a moment, please. I'll disconnect the charger. Sorry for the disruption. So again, the whole objective of educating someone, the whole method of educating, we have all the methods now. We have various pedagogies, we have various methodologies, uh, how we should go about the whole thing, how student centric, etc. But somewhere we are still failing to understand the largeness of those terms. What all can be included, should be included, maybe even sorry, in those terms. This is what we were talking about. You had earlier teacher-centric things. You have passive learning, textbook-driven. Now you are student-centered. You have active learning. You have higher order thinking. Again, what is higher order thinking? What is integrated curriculum? Active learning. Activities in the class, that is what is suggested sometimes. Make the students present something, make them do something that will not make them feel that it's all going very conventional. This is what we are supposed to do. When a student comes, joins a class, be it a degree, be it in school, wherever, somehow they already have a notion. To break that notion that your assignments, your exams, your syllabus, these are the notes that you can just follow and you can clear the exams. Those notions are already there. How much ever we try to do any activity, that's like extra curriculum for them. That's like teacher is trying to do something tricky. Finally, it is the syllabus, it is the exams, it is the notes, it is all that will finally matter. This activity is just extra. You have to first break that notion. The student has that notion. Even teachers have that notion. We are told to do this little extra things. It's like little add-ons. We have to put that in between so that we can show it's is the new school learning process. Is the new teaching learning process, because that is what we have learned in some orientation program, in some FDP, uh, in some books or whatever. We have gone through a certain training that this is what you should do. Again, it's all come within the should do's. You cannot get innovative in that case unless each teacher in the given circumstance of each class has some innovative skills of, if this activity is not working out, what should I do? The students might get bored of that activity. Maybe the teacher is not conducting it well, whatever might be the reason. But if it has been instructed to, if the teacher has been instructed to do this in the given manner, he continues to do that, whether it is having the result as expected or not, it does not matter. One continues to usually do the activity in the manner that one has been told. So that is where a lot of innovation in education is required, and that is something that is instantaneous. That is something that is the skill of the teacher. That is why that person is teacher and not anyone else who has the same knowledge, same skills maybe, but does not have that innovative teaching methods. So again, to try and understand what the child, student, learner, whatever you might call, need, when we talk of student centered, are we talking of each student centered or student centered? So because each student might be expecting a different thing, might be needing a different thing, and might turn out to be a very different person than each of that. We are again giving something to them that is on a very broad spectrum, meant for everyone, but it has to be customized. The customization to certain extent can come from the teacher. To certain extent, the student has to customize and take it in. You know, they have to take the education in their own manner, and that customization, how they should customize what you are imparting to them, that is what we have to train them probably, so that they know how to customize what is being told to them. And that is where a system called free progress system can come in handy, because that is I have to some extent gone through that system. It was told initially that I have done my studies from Shrebindo Ashram Pondicherry, and Shrebindo, as you might some of you might know, he was one of the last century's educators. He has different education uh, principles, theories about how to bring in a new kind of education, and free progress system is one of such kind, where uh, each student is led to progress in his own manner, in his own pace, and in his own methods. He has to innovate methods. I'll just very briefly in the end talk about this free progress system. Few of the elements that is being, you know, in a way still experimented in that school. Uh, to certain extent successfully, to certain extent because of various limitations not so successfully. Yes, there is some experimentation of this kind going on, which is from the conventional point of view quite successful. So again, we cannot see students as prototypes who are uniformly manufactured, and we give them a given data, they process it in our expected manner and give the outcome. Because uh, the Bloom's taxonomy that is being repeated, I think I don't know how many thousands of times I have been shown these charts. Somehow I feel sometimes that it is going in the reverse order. When we talk of knowledge to evaluation, from evaluation it should again lead to new knowledge, because when you have some basic data, some basic knowledge to start your skills, like we discussed about the potters, say, you have the basic knowledge of the skill, then you comprehend it, apply it, analyze it, synthesize it, evaluate, and then come out with a new knowledge. So unless, they say sometimes, if the student cannot surpass the teacher has failed. So each student surpassing you is your success. So we have to somewhere give them something with which they can tweak what we are giving to them, and then be have their own innovative methods to continue to, when we talk of education, the student should contribute back to the society. That is what, again, I'll not bring in the whole idea of education linked to capitalism, etc. All those things are not required, but somewhere we are expecting them to contribute back to the society, be it in terms of, say, manufacturing something, increasing the business, contributing to the economy. So it can be economy, polity, society. In whatever way, the student will contribute to the society, will contribute back to, from where, or to where he belongs. So uh, that is one point where innovation is not just at the teacher's end, it is also at the student's end. And we have to, again, like you told, we have to teach them how to learn. The student must learn how to learn. And if we can tell them, there's that saying that instead of feeding someone, tell them how to fish. And that is the beginning point of maybe a right direction of education. Right, again, is wrong to say right for anything. There's no right or wrong, but something that will lead successful, a more holistic education, that they know what is it exactly required in their life, that they can take up, and that will lead to a better life, not only for them, for the people around them. And then they can, of course, explore themselves more, because the moment they start to understand what they need, it's a step towards self realization, it's a step towards understanding themselves. And mostly what we have in the students is they are not able to understand themselves, which is why, at such young tender age, students are falling into depression, and a lot of those other things which should never be part of anyone who's part of education system. It's a system where a student is happy and healthy, all mind, heart, and body are all healthy and happy. And if that is not happening to every student in your campus or in your school, in your classroom, there's something seriously wrong in our education system. So for a very long time, it was, of course, assumed that we give education, impart education, give knowledge like a packet, and students have to be brought to the class. They have to be made to sit in the class. I don't know if you watch those movies. In school, you have students in the movies. They show that students want to run away. As soon as the bell rings, student rush out of the class. They're happy to go out a good education system would make them happy to come in. So is that what we are able to do? I mean, uh, bunking a class is in fashion. I don't know since how many years, decades, centuries. But a student should feel that I don't want to miss this class. This class, I don't know how important it is for me in my career and life, but I want to sit in there. I want to sit, and the moment it is 1 hour, I wish there was 15 more minutes of this class. That is where somewhere we have taken a good first step, where the student feels, yes, I'm getting something from here. It's not just for my career, it's not just for my personal life, it's not just for whatever things that they can think of at that time. It's something more, it's something that uh, that is needed, that I have to have. So again, I'm quoting mainly from various places where Sri Aurobindo has mentioned about education. So it says that education must be a bringing out of the child's own intellectual and moral capacities to their highest possible value, and must be based on the psychology of the child nature, was a step forward towards a more healthy because a more subjective system. But it still fell short because it still regarded him as an object to be handled and molded by the teacher, to be educated. Again, that is something that was happening for a long time. But of course, with the newer methods, with the newer research of how to educate, you could get rid of a lot of those convention, those orthodox ideas about education. Again, what happens is usually to not have objections, to make things look holistic, to make things feel complete, we put all the paradoxical things together. Higher order thinking examples are critical and creative together, lateral divergent together, convergent counterfactual together, and synthesizing together. We put all the paradoxical, all the opposites together, we think it's complete. Are we able to really synthesize them in the class? That is where the real success will start of the education system. When we say, we tell the student, think out of the box. Now, out of the box is the entire world there for them. When you think out of the box, they have no direction where to go. You come, supposing there was one little room on the entire earth, and you come out of that room and you have to take your direction. In spite of all the educational system, will be lost where to go exactly. Where should I head towards first? Is my first step going to be a pitfall? So the student needs that confidence that when I'll take my first step, it's going to be well thought out, it's going to be something that is worthwhile. It's not just overconfidence with which I'm stepping forward. It is something that is uh, I don't know what you can say, but again, to find the right word for that would be wrong. But it's something that will lead somewhere. It's not just somewhere, but it leads somewhere that is worth it. That's going to take him forward. That's going to give him progress. So again, progress is probably a more important outcome than just knowledge or skills, or contributing back in some way, etc. Uh, okay, so again, another place, I'm taking stepwise because in his book Human Cycle, it's a book on social thought and development of humanity. Uh, Shrivindo talks of a chronological development of society. So I've taken the whole chronology as it is in the quotations. So the new aim, once education system had improved, the new aim is to help the child to develop his intellectual, aesthetic, emotional, moral, spiritual being, and his communal life and impulses out of his own temperament and capacities. A very different object from that of the old education, which was simply to pack so much stereotype knowledge into his resisting brain and impose a stereotyped rule of conduct on his struggling and dominating impulses. So that was something that we have already, at least theoretically come out. But after after coming out, where does the person head towards, again, is a big question. And here again I quote a little, to give an idea of maybe where he can head towards. Each human being is a self-developing soul, and that the business of both parent and teacher is to enable and to help the child to educate himself, to develop his own intellectual, moral, aesthetic, and practical capacities, and to grow freely as an organic being, not to be kneaded and pressured into a foreign inert plastic material. So again, when we are going through the whole process of education, um, there is continuously, career, of course. If you ask most of the students, career is the thing. I have to earn my livelihood, I need money. So again, it is for sustaining something, sustaining one's family, society, economy, nation, maybe, dreams. Again, there is not something that I've written here, but dreams are a big thing. I dream to be this. From childhood we are asking, uh, you know a student, what do you want to become? A lot of our questions are often wrong, be it coming from teacher, be it coming from parent, be it coming from relatives, whoever, and you cannot often stop them from asking that. You don't know sometimes that what has been asked of the child. I think, again, from parents and teachers have equal responsibility on the child, on the student. So it is on both of them that they should try to undo all that wrong questioning, wrong influence, wrong understanding of the world that is happening with the child continuously. There are a lot of these things which are being bombarded on the child continuously, and if that is not undone by the teacher and the parents, equal responsibility, all of the good things will not have their effect. All the things that should otherwise have a successful effect on the child will not have that. So again, um, you know educating in the most conventional manner that we have, if that was to solve all the problems in the world, then there would usually not be problems. A lot of people are educated, and those who are uneducated also are ethically okay. So again, what are the things that, just some things that uh, can help us bring to the child, so that the child has that customization of the education himself and knows what to take, what not to take. If trying to protect the child all the time is not possible, rather give him the skills to protect himself. So again, original thinking is one of those very important things, not just analytical skills, original thinking. Analytical skills can be inculcated in the child, but if that person cannot customize those analytical skills according to the circumstances, uh, there might be a problem standing right in front of that person, but will not realize or will not know how to handle it. And in that, at a very early age, in the primary level, secondary level, imagination should be given more importance. So again, from imagination, there should be a slow, a gradual, not slow, a gradual shift towards intuition. Because often I have seen that when children have a tendency about intuition, it is uh, it is not encouraged. In fact, it is discouraged sometimes. This is not, you're imagining things, you are not facing the reality. you know, the teacher and the parent have to understand that the child is trying to say something, that there is something that needs to be looked at, and that is not happening. And again, discipline becomes a very important thing that is imposed, that is uh, imposed in the most harsh manner, often, that that I have seen, at least in schools. It's not something that uh, is made to be seen as something important, in the sense that you should feel the importance of it. Instead of me telling you that it is important, you must do it. Instead of that, the child should feel the importance of discipline, and that is where he will himself want to be disciplined. He will feel that, yes, if I do not keep things disciplined in my life, somewhere things will start going wrong and then they will go out of hand. So you know, all of that education should come from within, from that person should firstly be willing to receive it, and that that willingness will come once they see the importance of it. Importance, again, not for career. The first thing that we threaten, this fear is the worst thing to start your education. We say that, if you don't study well, you'll be like this rickshawala, you'll be like this beggar, you'll be selling, groundnuts on the street. We are using wrong methods, absolutely wrong methods in that way. So we have to bring in a will to learn, to know, and to know within and without equally, not just without. Usually uh, good students know everything about the world, they don't know about themselves, and that is where they go wrong in judging about themselves, that what is happening inside is completely unknown to them. So a teacher probably should be able to evoke discipline, self-control, concentration, psychological understanding of themselves and others. They should have infectious enthusiasm to awaken in the child the part which is asleep, the will to know, the need to progress. There's some qualities of the teachers and of the students. So to love to learn is the most precious gift that one can make to a child, to learn always and everywhere. And because a lot of these scientists often say that they're still learning, they're still uh, at the stage where they can take a lot from random people around them. Another quotation that I have is, the finest present one can give to a child would be to teach him to know himself and to master himself. This mastering himself, you know, usually we tend to have this element in Asiatic cultures. I don't know if you see that as differently or not. Most of these education systems or pedagogies, methodologies, research is coming from uh, from a very different cultural milieu. And when we talk of the Asiatic cultures, be it Chinese, Japanese, Korean, uh, Arabian, etc., Indian, they see things very differently, and that is where somehow uh, a lot of education systems in Asia have flourished very differently, and people tend to look at them in uh, with very high respect. And this mastering himself, I don't know if this reminds you of somehow a lot of Buddhist things, to master oneself. A lot of martial arts, etc., they always have this thing of, first you master yourself, then you master the skill. So you have to first master yourself. That becomes very important. A lot of these martial art movies, you'll see, that's why movies, correct movies, good movies, are very important, should be very important part of the curriculum. We don't usually have that kind of thing in our curriculum. Maybe small videos, small documentaries, small short films, etc., they can convey a lot more, because student is sometimes they close the doors to that regular teacher. It sounds like a moral dictum every time you try to tell them something. When it's coming from a third person, it could make a change, it could make a difference, it could tell them that yes, what my teacher was telling was just the same thing. It has a visual effect, it has given a new circumstance to the student, a new perspective. That's why maybe movies can be included, but again, it depends on if your institution, if your department, your school or whatever can allow these kind of things. Again, it's not easy to bring in a lot of innovation because of a lot of other restrictions and facilities, availability of various facilities, etc. Anyway, master oneself to master the world, master oneself to master the skills, to master things around them, is something that is often seen as most important. So again, working on oneself will help gain a lot of skills that will come automatically when one knows oneself. Students often don't know their capacity. Even something like whether you can jump this distance. A child does not know whether he can jump this distance or not. So your they know how to, if they can solve this problem or not. If they can add this big number to another big number, they can multiply this number to another big number. They know that, but they don't know how much they can jump. So they know the capacities of their mind. They don't know the capacities of their heart, emotion, that is, and their physical body. So again, there somewhere the whole synchronization, the balance of all three has gone missing. And just to sum up, I don't know, it might have been an intriguing thing then how to teach, how to go about the whole thing. So I thought that I should include these things. There are three principles that has been told by Sri Aurobindo as an educationist. The first principle is true teaching is that nothing can be taught, because it has to come from within. It has to be, the student has to be told to look within for the true education. Second principle is that the mind has to be consulted in its own growth. The third principle of education is to work from near to far, from that which is to that which shall be. So again, you can read further about this in his books, and there's detailed explanation for all of that. I'll end with this. These new education methods are on the straight way to this truer dealing, the closer touch attempted with the psychical entity behind the vital and physical mentality. When we say vital, is the emotions. And an increasing reliance on its possibilities must lead to the ultimate discovery that man is inwardly a soul and a conscious power of the divine, and that the evocation of this real man within is the right object of education and indeed of all human life, if it would find and live according to the hidden truth and deepest law of its own being. Again, this sounds very heavy to even understand, to grasp, but maybe if we give thought to it, first the teachers have to understand this, then they can bring it to the student, bring it to the child, that first try to understand yourself. Once you are in the process of understanding yourself, you'll understand the world almost simultaneously. I hope it has made sense to you. Thank you. If there are any questions and if any time left, we can take them up. Okay, there is one or two things in the. I'm sorry, my voice was breaking so much. Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So, if there are no questions, maybe we can wrap it up.
Do we have any
If there are
questions?
any remarks, also it's welcome. A person has mentioned about unless learner autonomy is encouraged, it's tough to make each student centered. Yes, there are difficulties about implementation. Always there are problems about taking up too much time in this process of educating someone as compared to finishing your syllabus and making them ready for exams. Those things are definitely there, but somewhere we can squeeze a little time to to truly educating. Maybe we can, if we are willing to. Students sometimes after a few years they'll realize, they will feel that 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 one day, that one particular period was very good, it has served its purpose. The entire Sometimes students feel that the entire education has not made any sense, only that one period, one day made a lot of sense in their life. So it is somewhere, in spite of all the barriers of facilities and giving this autonomy to learner and to the teacher, etc., somewhere we can squeeze in a little portion which is dependent on us, on the teacher. So if things are allowed, if things are encouraged to bring in more elements that will be useful for the education, well and good. If not, we have to again be innovative. Is anything else that uh, any remarks are also welcome?
Shivagami ma'am, you had something, no? Yeah, if there are more queries, I think we can wind up. Um, I would like to thank Dr. Pranjal Garg for agreeing immediately to come and deliver a lecture to us. That was very helpful to us, and also that was a very insightful session, discussing on multiple perspectives and many unconventional perspectives that we can also adopt. Thank you so much, sir, for the insightful and fruitful session, and thank you all participants for joining. Dr. Abirami, I've already shared the attendance and feedback form link here in the chat box. Kindly fill in the attendance form. Thank you, Dr. Pranjal, for being with us. Looking forward to even more collaborations with you and Central University of Tamil Nadu. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.